Playas, how you doing? Welcome back to Playas Guide. On this episode of Playas Guide, I'm going to be discussing some of my thoughts and ideas around how I value retro video game collecting and what it means to me and what the current landscape is like and how that is reflected upon it. There's a few things that I've already mentioned here before, some of the previous videos. I'll link some of those at the end here for you to check out, so stick around till then. But first off, I want to mention, I know I've mentioned it before, is really looking at what it means to you. So when you're buying retro games, modern like anything really in your life in general, but we're focusing on video games here. What does it mean to you? How much do you value it, and why are you buying it? Is it something that you really need or really want to have? How bad do you desire it, and how does that price of what you're purchasing it for reflect that? Because the way I see it is anything that I've added to my collection, whether it's gone up or down in value, that's not why I bought it as an investment. Now, if I did purchase something as an investment, that's not necessarily something I would consider part of my collection because I'm willing to let it go at any time or when I feel the time is right. Whereas the stuff that I hold on to within my collection, I mean, it's generally all gone up because I've had so much of this stuff and held on to it for so long, and I really don't spend much now because of where the market is at and how high it is. That doesn't mean that I don't still enjoy the hunt for the games or ever purchase anything new. But I definitely analyze how badly I really want a specific game, and does the value, the price tag of that game reflect my own value of it? And a lot of times I find it doesn't. But I do like, you know, the thrill of the hunt, getting out, trying to find bargains, because they are still out there. They're getting harder and harder to find. For me, it's really about getting out there, trying to see if I can find something different, interesting, unique, maybe something I've never given a chance or found before. But I also try to remain focused. Like right now, I'm finishing up the Wii U, pretty close there. I got a series coming out where I talk about the Wii U collecting, and my experience collecting for it. So if you're interested in the Wii U, which I think is still a good console, great time to collect for, yeah, please consider subscribing to the channel. One little click from you makes a big difference here on Playas Guide. But take a look at your level of interest. Are you buying things? Are you collecting things? What's in your collection, and what is the level of interest you have in it? How well does it fit? And these are all things I look at to how much I value certain things in my game room. I know there's some games I don't play very often that I like to have on a shelf, because if I ever did or had a friend over and, you know, let's say Hyperstone Heist, a game I don't really play a ton of, but if I wanted to play it, you know, I have nostalgia for it. Other people I know would probably have nostalgia for it, and it's a solid game that I wouldn't mind getting out and playing, but I don't play it frequently. So I do value it enough to keep it in the collection, but if there's things that might just be sitting around that really don't hold much value, I don't care about, that's the kind of stuff I get rid of, because space is an issue, and the quality of my collection is also something that I actually take pride in. And that's something that I think you should do, is take a little pride in your collection. If you're just shoving games on a shelf and they're not, you know, alphabetized or organized in a certain way, or some are standing upright, some are on the side, and you're almost at the point just hoarding or feeding like an addiction. So do those things really mean that much to you? Probably not, and that's not something that I do. There are very few times that there's ever like a random game sitting around. Now it does happen. There's a backlog of you know, stuff that needs to get sorted and put away occasionally, but that's really not that often for me, because the backlog is real. It can become a real issue for some people, and that sometimes means you need to just take your time, slow down, and enjoy what you have. That's something else that I've reiterated before, because what I've seen over the past few years, right? When I started collecting over 20 years ago, I was buying a lot of these games. They were being liquidated from video stores, specifically NES and some of the SNES. And I didn't really take concern with CIB, sealed, loose, sometimes the condition. I just bought it because it was cheap and it was there. And I didn't really distinguish too much of a difference at that time. And that was, that was 20 years ago. The landscape was completely different. Now, what I'm talking about is like valuing your games. Is I see a lot of people that it almost seems like they're buying games as part of this pissing contest to show how kind of big their collection is, or how much money they're willing to spend or whatever. And a lot of those people, they can burn out just as fast as they come in, which is pretty strong. Now, not always. A lot of those people do stick around because sometimes they've seen the value of their games continue to go up. They're still enjoying them, so why get rid of them? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But there's definitely things like Instagram, YouTube, doing pickups videos. Hey, look, here's what I got. I post pictures on Instagram too. You can follow Playas Guy on Instagram. But there's definitely an element of that where, you're showing off. And I remember when I first started joining forums, something that really interested me, same with YouTube, was like game room tours and collection videos, which you could find a collection video of my NES collection on here too. And that's because I thought it was interesting to see some different things that maybe I had never seen before. And my perspective may have changed on that a little bit because there's not too many things that really surprise me anymore. But that has definitely had an effect on the way people collect and the prices, for sure. Social media has helped to blow things up. And as platforms such as Instagram, YouTube's kind of always been around for over 2 decades now, but at the scale that it's at now, with sort of things like I was saying, like pickups videos, game room tours, all of these things, there's also a more showy side of it too. I see more of it on Instagram, but it exists all over the place. It's been on forums, Reddit. It's existed for a long time, but I've really seen that snowball, and I feel like a lot of the prices and the interest in these games have sort of followed that too. Let me know how you feel about that if you're a long-time collector in the comments below. So yeah, the need to kind of fit in or show off, I feel has really kind of made some people like rush into purchases and collecting and overspending. That has certainly made prices escalate, but so is the nostalgia factor. That's something that I always talk about on this channel, and as more and more people become nostalgic for things from the 80s and 90s, and they reach their mid-20s to who knows how long it's going to go for. It just goes on and on, I guess, the cycle, and some things will cool off and die down and lose a bit of interest, but I think there's a lot of people like myself who've kind of never let go and probably never will, so there will always be a level of interest there from that. But we've seen more of that nostalgia factor in the past few years, more and more of it, which has definitely fueled the popularity of collecting, and that does factor into valuing your collection as well. Are you purchasing something just to have it, or is there some nostalgia attached to it, and you get enjoyment out of that? Because you can get a combination of nostalgia, value, and appreciation for the playability of that game or its franchise that really draws you in. And I think a lot of that stuff we're going to see down the road will hold the value, whereas some of the other things where there's some rare PS2 games, different horror games, let's just say, from that genre, or RPGs. Horror and RPG, I don't mind them, but they're not really my favorite genres, and if I started going out and collecting that stuff, that's not really me, right? I'm just kind of going after it because it's either rare, expensive, sought after, and yeah, it can be kind of cool to show that stuff off, but the nostalgia's not there for me, and the appreciation isn't. So, yeah, take a step back and look at that stuff. I definitely factor it into my collecting. One thing I do like is fighting games on the PS1. I like those a lot. I have quite a few, but there's a lot that I feel are a little bit out of my price range and overpriced at this time, so I'm not so interested in them because of that. Again, it goes into how you value things and value your collection. Taking care of your collection is a part of that too, like I mentioned about having some pride in what you have and appreciating it. Well, buying, I don't think is the answer. I know it's releasing that dopamine in the left hemisphere of your brain, but we gotta have self-control. One thing I do is I set a budget so that, you know, I'm either saving up for something that I really want, or, you know, I have a little bit of cash that I could spend $20 a week or whatever when I see something that catches my eye, that's interesting and is cheap. And that's part of it for me too, is really going after the things you want, or getting out, doing the hunting, and finding, you know, a bargain on something, or something that just seems interesting and worth picking up just for that. And I still get enjoyment out of collecting because of this. And I hope this video has helped you guys kind of sit back, take a look at your collection, what you're doing with your collecting, and you know, seeing what it means to you to collect video games and how much you value that, because that's what this video has really been about. Until next time, players, I'll catch you on the flip side.